Alwan. I'm the Director of Health and Social Development. I will be representing here His Excellency Dr. Berkene, but also on my own behalf as the Director of the Department of the Social, where also the issue of migration, displacement are also located. Let me also read my speech, which is actually an IGAD speech. And first also, I would like to all of you to welcome you in this beautiful city. And I know delegates from member state and partners, you have done a long way to come here, and really always IGAD appreciate your dedication and support. Excellency, representative of the government of Djibouti, Colonel Gona, but also Djibouti now is the IGAD chair, distinguished delegate and expert from the IGAD member state, our dear partners from European Union, GIZ, the Platform of Disaster Displacement, IOM, ILO, but also my colleagues from the IGAD Secretariat, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. On behalf of IGAD, and also on behalf of His Excellency Dr. Ulkene, the Executive Secretary of IGAD, it gives me a great honor to welcome all of you for this 16th IGAD Regional Consultative Process on Migration called RCP, which now the focus and the theme is on human mobility in the context of disaster and climate change here in this beautiful city of Tajora of the Republic of Djibouti. For many of you delegates, I am aware that this is your first time, that also you are visiting this part of Djibouti and the region. But also, as you know, this region is the busiest migrants corridor in Eastern Horn of Africa, and also I'm sure that yesterday you were witness during your journey to this city in Tajora. You have witnessed delegates and partners, the pastoralists and communities who are highly dependent on the weather, but also vulnerable to the climate change. But also you have been witnesses, the group of migrants from our region transiting through this corridor and also going to the Gulf countries in the search of better opportunity. And what we know is that most of these migrants encounter significant risk related to the protection and also the human smuggling and trafficking. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as also you may recall, your organization, the IGAD, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, which a double T, not one T, was actually created in 1986 to coordinate the efforts of its member states in combating desertification and also promoting efforts to mitigate the effects of drought. Again, it's not only in 1996 that IGAD, the double T, one T has been dropped, and also this regional economic community, IGAD, has been one of the 8 regional economic community that has been officially recognized by the African Union, and also the region, as you know, our region IGAD is also facing a wide range of natural hazards such as drought, floods, landslide, and others. As also we all know, our region has a very young population with more than 60% of the population which is below 30 years. And also the number of the people that will be migrating, that also you have seen even yesterday, are among this category of populations. Delegates and partners. Already the IGAD region also has, you all know, has the highest concentration of displaced persons in Africa, in the continent. Currently, the region also hosts more than 19 million internal displaced, which comprise over 5 million refugees and 14 million IDPs. Natural disaster also and climate change will not only impact the general population, but also compound the hardship faced by the vulnerable population group, such as the refugees, asylum seekers, internally displaced, and also stateless persons. People also which are displaced by disaster and climate change can be also particularly vulnerable to the right violation, including through the lack of access to the essential documentation, security, lack of education, but also lack of other basic services. There are also a number of, as you all know, international and continental and regional instruments which also address this issue. We have actually, like among these instruments, we have what we call the Global Compact on Migration and also the Global Compact on Refugees. At the EU level, we have the Banjul Migration Policy Framework, which has been endorsed by the African Union. At the IGAD, we have the IGAD Regional Policy Framework, which has been endorsed by the Council of Ministers of IGAD in 2012, but also we have our IGAD Protocol of Free Movement of Persons, Transhumans, endorsed in Khartoum in 2020. As most of you might also be aware, I know that the Protocol of Free Movement of Persons that will be presented, it has a specific provision, which is in the Article 16, that also urge our member state to facilitate the entry and stay for people who are affected by the disaster. At the national level, if I can also just cite a few, we have also the IDP policy for South Sudan, and specifically speak to the issue of disaster and climate change. And also I'm hoping that South Sudan and all member states that share more examples in due course of this meeting. Yesterday, during the RMCC meeting, we understand that the draft of the new Migration Action Plan was presented to the delegates from the member states. And also, the action plan identified the human mobility in the context of disaster and climate change, which is also an important area in the map. In the past years, IGAD and its partners have also convened different regional dialogue on human mobility in the context of disaster and climate change. In 2014, the government of Kenya hosted the first Nelson Initiative, which is a regional consultation on natural hazard, climate change, but also cross-border displacement. The recommendation from this meeting were also later incorporated on the action agenda of the Platform on Disaster Displacement. And again, in 2017, the IGAD regional consultative process has focused on the topic, the same topic, and also the participants discussed for the first time existing policy and also protection gaps related to the climate change and human mobility in the IGAD region. Few months ago in Uganda, in 2022, Uganda has also hosted an interministerial conference on migration, environment, and climate change, which also has resulted on the adoption of the Kampala Declaration on Migration, Environment, and Climate Change. Donc, IGAD and its partners have also developed several projects and programs on human mobility, disaster, and climate change. I'm sure for the next 2 days, delegates and partners, and also my colleagues from the IGAD Secretariat, will be deliberating on the good practices and also the lesson learned from this intervention, and also identify priority for future action. As I conclude, I look also forward to the deliberation and the outcome of the 2 days meeting, and let me wish you a successful and fruitful discussion. Bienvenue to all of you, and merci beaucoup.